Okay. So in last week lecture, we talked about different type of like the malware, and then one of the example like popular one is we call the Trojan. So the Trojan horse. So it's a background. So just like we need to know the definition of it. So it's about a program. So it appears, and then it does something like harmful, but in the background. But like sometimes we don't know. So we are they are with like hiding in some like normal applications, some files. So we will pretend. So once we like execute it, and sometimes example just like maybe a Python script. So okay. So to us, like we can doing showing us example like how it works, like just like simulation when we maybe try to create a file like text file so on our victim machine. Sometimes when you even it's just a PDF file, maybe it maybe just a application you download from online like open source. So it can be simple script like encrypted. So it can be any file type. So it can be even just an image file once you download it, and then if you look at the maybe the file type, it looks like it's an image. But once you really execute, it can be a certain script. So most of the simple one maybe they will open your the port, or they will create some file or sending something to some like remote server. So that's how it really work. And for here, I already upload the sample code if you want to do it together. So if you want to see, you can go to the content and then midnight. So I will upload some so I embed with the code, and also you can download the Trojan. I will execute one more time. I include several. The first one, I using the Python code. So actually you can use any, because this one is just a simulation. So just pretending, okay, in case we are executing, and then what kind of action we can do. And let me copy the source code. And enlarge it. Okay. Right here, let's say I would say I will share a Python script. Maybe I could put a title, can be like, okay, it's a solution of question, or like it's a program help you to do the calculation, something like this. But once you execute, and I can embed this file in maybe like part of the code, you never pay attention. So you never aware of it. Actually, what can I do? So right here, I will checking your directory, and like always when we handle it, we always like checking for the file path. Let's say I will save it to the same folder, or I will save it, and also I will checking the my OS, like does I have it? If yes, and then I will open it and write it, create a file. So this one is the really simple Python script, and I can execute Python. Okay. So once I execute, then I can create a file. Okay. So you see right here, and then output, and then any text message. So here's the step one. Like how can we create the file? But of course, when you try to like install or like try to upload this file, actually even if I want to upload all this like with the potential, like with some like dangerous like code, actually they will detect it, and they are not allow me to upload it. So or like sometimes the application, once you download it, okay, so you are downloading from some unknown source. They say they have some like potential weak, so you keep on downloading. So why not actually the browser, they have like detection to make sure you won't upload some potential in danger. So here's one of the example. We say, okay, we read the path, and I have one more. If I want to detect, let's say I want to checking And last time let me copy the source code. Okay. And then sometimes we will, if you are the attacker, if you are the hacker, we need to know what is the working environment, because most of, I think right now still like 70% we are using Windows, maybe we're using Mac. Because for Mac and Windows, we are under two different OS, and how we execute the path, they are not the same. So we need to really detect. So how can we detect all these ones? So we will install some like import by default Python we have called the OS. So you see most of the time we're using the OS, or like we import the platform. So we will check, okay, so I will detect what's the current platform. So it matches with the Windows. Then I will change it. Okay, I want to put some picture under this location, then I can do it. Or if I'm using my Mac OS, I put it under the picture like this. So I will set my default location. And here's a good thing is that you never know. Let's say I download a file, but I can save it to, if you are using the Windows, I can put under the C program file, and or under sometimes they call the app data. So you never aware those files installed. Okay, or like those folders you never check. So I can like execute in service and then like in the background, so you are never aware of it. Or maybe like Mac OS in different locations. So if you're interested, and you can download and execute. So this one is I call it detection. So I will detect your your OS system, and I will create a file, an image, and save this image to the certain location. So what do we need to do? Like for the lab time, I would like you to combine all this, because you may not know Python, or like some of you, how many of you know Python? No, none of you. Okay, one, a little bit. Okay, so maybe for learning a programming language, well, for here, for this, for example, I combine different type of language. So just have to, if you never use those language, then just see. Okay, so have an idea, because we have different programming language we can use. Like let's say I can use C++. I can even if before we learn about something about HTML, and then we have this time Python, or like sometime when I introduce like for web, we use Node.js. So we have multiple language, and also we have like several OS platforms. And sometimes if you want to attack like the iOS, we may be using, sometimes we use the how many do you know Raspberry Pi? Okay, you use it. Okay, maybe use. So it's pretty common for industry to actually we use Raspberry Pi for the production. So we, yeah, do you know something? Yeah, we talk about Raspberry Pi. So do you know something about?
Yeah, I've taken the computer organization class where we do code on Raspberry Pi with some.
Okay, so that, and then
But it's like it's really basic. We didn't learn the real functionalities of the Raspberry Pi.
Okay, so what did you actually do? So you say you write some like really fundamental things. Like, did you work on some OS things, or just like some programs, or?
Coding, just we wrote code in assembler on the Raspberry Pi, and we use it as a mini computer.
Oh, mini. So mini is assembly language. Okay.
It was pretty just to have all of the, since everyone has different laptops and stuff, just have everyone on the same.
Okay, just
like-
using a same,
like a
okay,
Linux
system.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Okay, so they're using the Raspberry Pi, yeah. And because actually in production, we use a lot, really long time ago, once they introduced like Raspberry Pi. And then in the industry too, we realized, okay, it's really useful because I can have a mini like computer, and then I can use running as a Linux system, so I can run some service, and then you can like pop in some sensor. So that's like how the industry do it. Like they attach all those sensors and then write a Python script you can upload to the server. Then all this including the gateway API server, like how do we handle the those things. Also, you can let's say I have a Raspberry Pi attach some humid sensor or like detect a human, even attached to the door. Then I can send all this record to a Excel file. Like if you don't want to save a drive, like hosting on your server side, actually you can save all this content to a Excel. Yeah, and that's one I use for is a Hong Kong, like is a Hong Kong observatory. So they have called a super site. So they collect all those. They have a huge machine. Like the super site itself, the building, it collect all those like data about like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, like the rain, like all this like data. So, but all this are all data, and then as subcontractor, like that time I'm working for a company, subcontractor. So we need to retrieve the data and then open for profit. Then how do we save the data and then we need to reuse it, right? So that time we use the Raspberry Pi. So like just put inside. Okay, so if for hacking, because for those supersite, actually they will isolate their network. So they are trying not to allow any other people like able to access it. So you need to first like ask for permission, like open the port, or like we need to set up certain gateway like to bypass it. So you may sometimes you'll hear the term called bypass. Bypass that means like I try to skip the original verification way, or like I need to have like step 1, 2, 3, but I try not to follow it and then jump to the final result or go to certain endpoint. So that's what I did, and I use the Raspberry Pi to do it is to connect to the like those sensor and then retrieve the data sent back. Because you have multiple contractor and then sometimes you cannot retrieve the data like officially, or like they allow you to do that, but they are not like open those data to you. Then how can you do it? But sometimes that when you open a gateway like this, actually you will increase the risk. Okay, just like if you want to apply some knowledge of cybersecurity. And then for this one, back to the source code. So this one is like showing you we need to detect the different environment. Because as an attacker, because in this class we try to teach you is awareness, like how to do protection, but not teaching you how to like being an attacker. But we need to know what's the common way. Why Windows, like last time I asked why Windows is so easy, or like why, of course, because maybe I remember statistic is around 70% like using Windows. Okay. And of course you can write a program, but sometimes if you want to detect based on, okay, maybe sometimes they would install on the Mac, or sometimes we install the Windows, then we can use some certain code. Always we need to know how they attack it, or like how they can do it. And then of course we cannot prevent these things like all those source code, but always like be aware of like first step when you download the file or download the application installation, be aware of, okay, so if you install it and then maybe the file name it looks so weird, or sometimes when you try to like double click, but sometimes once you double click they already execute certain script. Maybe you are too late, okay, to prevent it. Then when you are aware that in certain step, okay, it looks like most common when I share this experience, like I love to like download different application from the forum. Okay, so I reinstall my Windows, like my desktop every week. You realize once you install, you will hear the CPU and the fan, right? The fan, the sun, suddenly like goes, so it's taking off your computer. So because they will take all your resources, like sometimes they just like want to crash your computer, or they change to a zombie. If you remember, we talked about DDoS. So they change to like just pinging certain sites. So when they always like the first step is like if I want to install certain files like based on the path location, then we need to detect it. So that's how they do. And here we always like we will see, just be aware when we create the file, we have called a silence action. Mainly because when we try to create like the Trojans host, is like what's the silence say? You never have a notification, or you never able to aware what they are doing in behind. unless you're feeling, okay, why my computer is getting so slow? And then if you check your the task manager, like let's say if you're Windows or like the activity, check your activity, you will see, okay, why my CPU taking like 70%, 80%, or why my network or my memory being occupied so percentage, but I didn't do anything. Then that means that probably there's some service like running in the background you never aware. Okay, so we call the silence action, and also they have something we need to have like called the error handling. So they would like try accept block to use handle potential error, because they we never know each, we say the client or computer, like what's the setting, especially Windows, because like everyone is not the same. Maybe you experience the same. When I told you, okay, you need to install a certain application or software, why he can do that, but another one can't do it, or like this. So when we need to try not to be a hacker, but we need to know, okay, so if they try to write something like this, we need to fit to different environment, and then we need to handle the error. Because when you have an error that is not working, or the we pop some error message, it will cause a crash. Then we will aware of it. So if some script, they are not really well implemented, or they didn't handle certain, like maybe some like data type error or like permission error, they couldn't access. Then that's the chance like for us to aware, okay, so what the possible issue. Mainly you will see when they try to create, that means like they will perform some unwanted action. Sometimes like they will steal your information, upload to our server. So later, because why all our source code we didn't do it. So one of our project I will give you, so I will let you to execute, like let's say right now you have the server, right? Try to execute and run it and post it to the server. Like you can save it, or like you can return certain message to yourself. Yeah, so there's an option we can do. And most of the time we will try to create some like hidden files. Right now it's just like simulation. Because we know we are going to create something. And then I log the user activity. I have one file right here within the file list. I will show you. So we talk about the date right here. This part, the first part will be the same. So I reading the what's the environment is Windows or Linux, and then I try to get the path. And then after we choose the path, you will see the code right here. I have a for loop like root and then directory and then os.walk. If you're learning other program, if you need to read some files, then you can do the same. So it's similar source code. So this one I will retain all the files and then append to the file. So if I execute this one, I will create right here, but let me change it to the same directory. Okay, let me change it to same directory. It takes a little bit time for me to finish the execution, because it's going to like walk through all the files in my computer and save it to a list. Okay, and in the output as a test file. Okay. Here's the first step. Okay, so I will check the environment, and then I will go through. Sometimes if I want to see what the files you have, then I will walk through all your directory and check all your files. Of course, I can also like open your file too, and then export it and send it back to my server in real time. So actually I can like read a file and then send everything to my server. It's okay. But this one just like simulation, I just run and execute. Okay, so right now it's completed. Okay, so it's a file list. Okay, so this one is like walking through all my files right here. So you'll see I have all the file lists, and then, and also I have some like certain projects I store on my document, and I have something like upload to the key. So actually, you see, I'm able to read it. So if I'm a spy of a company, I want to check if you're a developer, if I want to see what kind of project you're working. Yes, I can also do these things. Like I can send you a file or like attach to an email. Sometimes it's pretty common. So most of the time email you receive, they will give you the link or just like we direct to a certain page, right? Or I will attach it as an image file or like maybe a PDF file. So, okay, I send you a document, please check it or like please sign it or read it. Okay. So once I download and execute, then I can do something like this, like have a script, walk through all your directory, all your files. And then, of course, I'm not saving locally because you know it, right? But I can say send this all this file list to my server, like return back to my own computer. Or probably if I'm doing as an attacker, I'm not directly return it back to my own computer, but I will just like pay for a renting certain server and then return all this information, save it to a server, and then I will download it back from those servers. So this is a normal way. And you will see all those sample code right here is like maybe no matter which language we are using, like Python, Node.js, PHP, C purpose, or like the batch file. Also one more is using a batch file to execute. So different language, we can achieve it. And then the idea is all the same. As always, inject certain code in the file and then pretend. Because I did try before, but it's not allowed because actually online they do have some like open source. Some people they will share it. They say they will teach you how to like hack, like pretend you're like you can inject certain file to pretend as a PDF, but once you download, they will just block those files. So you're not allowed to do that. So of course we are not the level as a hacker. So you are not really required to do that, but have a concept. Okay, that's how they work. And then so here we see like for creation, we see we always say try to create the files and then no user notification. And here's a mainly just a demonstration. So just be careful of it. Okay. And one of the one I show you is like try to create an image. So if you want to execute, you need to install I'm using the Pillow is for the Python. So if you are not learning Python before, then you just skip this part. Like if you are interested and want to execute this file, then you need to install Python on your computer and execute. Okay. And I talk about like what's the OS detection. It's really common for us to encrypt the file. And then we will check the path. And here like the script, like checking, okay, if something exists, then we can create it. And then I use the, is a package, it's called a Pillow, so we can generate a pixel image. So this one is just for demonstration. So you can modify if you're interested like, for experience was the like hacking. And also the when the image is saved to the location, and also we say that like cross platform. So it's important like checking what is the operating system. So you can try to see, okay, so what they are really actually working, and then what the behavior. So basically when you run the script, so it was like silently create a red image under your document folder, under your profile. So it's already exists or notified, but if no, it will write to this. Okay, but this one you can modify. Okay, even if exists, how can I turn off the notification or like never let the user know? Okay, so you can see, and we know they are all like so far different possible way for the attacking. Then how can we like to prevent or detect, like protect our system. So that's like more important. That's what we should learn for cybersecurity. So first one is about like the signature-based detection. So this one will be like detection is like relies on like comparing the files and behavior against like no signatures. And so it's the oldest and common method using for the antivirus software. So they will compare, let's suppose for the origin file and then the one you have. So do they match? And then if they look like something the code it doesn't match, then it's there potentially okay modify. So we are changing. And but I say even the antivirus software, when you install two of them together, most of the time you will have a crash. Yeah, you see, I see you not the hair. So your head, so you know, did you experience something like this? Never? No. No.
They detect each other.
Yes, they detect each other, and then sometimes it will also sometimes it will cause your like your computer have a blue screen. They cause they will remove some crucial files, or they think they are actually the detection they doing is like they will also match the list. So actually they will also have a list like, and that they will try to make to compare it's the pattern, because they will try to detect there's like the bit. So mainly it's the bit pattern. So they will check, okay, those like bit pattern is similar to those like potential virus. Then once they detect it, then they will have a notification comes out, it pops out. So okay, they are potential weak. So they will like just put it isolate like this. And that's like most antivirus software they're doing. So even the Windows Defender and Norton McAfee. So all this, sometimes when you purchase a notebook, they always come with one free software like antivirus. So have you, then if you install one more, then you will see something happen. Yeah. And then you can install one more too. And then that's really amazing. Okay. So they have a like database of signature. So those like manages files. So they will continue to scan the system to match those signature. But they do have some challenge. So for this signature based detection, so they will limit to only some no tweets. So if there are some new way, then they are not exist, then we have no way to detect it. Okay, so here's the one of method. And then second one is called the behavior analysis. So we have some way to do is like we are trying to check if there's some suspicious like behavior. Do they create some files in expanded pace, or they modify the system configuration? They do, yes. Because for those files, they always need to take certain action. So, or like initially a network communication without user consent. So they are possible. And then one thing we can do is like doing the file integrity monitoring. So we'll monitor, okay, so is there any modify or file or directory change? So let's say if we create the file, if we do have a software, like let's say if we need to implement or make sure, then maybe I will keep checking the directory right here. So is there some new files comes out, and it's really common way. Let's say all of you already create the AW to the EC2 server, right? Okay. So when you open your server, let's say you're hosting a website, or sometimes you have some like install some firmware. So they do have some backdoor or like certain way to create a file. So maybe we need to have a software to keep detecting. Okay, do they create some other new PHP file without permission, or any like new Python or any like Node.js file? And they will modify their configuration or like file permission right. So we can detect all these things. And the most of the time we can checking, okay, by just like walking through the whole OS, like using the OS, and then check all the files. And maybe you can save the list. Okay, so what is the original list? Suppose you have like 10 files under this directory, but sometimes it suddenly create a new one, then you can report and send alert. So that's how can we do. So for the rechecking, so that Tripwise also can monitor this change. And one more here's we call the process monitoring. So like Process Explorer or the things internal suite. So also can help us monitor the process running on the system. And sandboxing, so run a file like virtual environment. Of course, if you want to test something like open source, like unknown, also it's a good behavior. So let's say like have a sandbox. So sandbox, so it's common for us like for debugging, like testing. VM, so it's like once I remove it, or even it's an isolated environment, and you can running certain files. But in case something really happened, because it's being isolated, it won't affect your original file. So you just need to maybe delete the image and then review it one more time. Then it can help you to avoid those problems. And then we have one more right here. Also we have certain heuristic or anomalous detection. So it's a technique to detect some new Trojan. So just like checking their behavior or the code structure. So this is a pretty common way we're checking not only the, like we call the bit code. So we're checking the bits, also the code structure. If we need to inject certain things, then we can detect. Let's say if we have script or file, say they always is always checking the system environment, or always try to access the file, and then maybe we change the permission, or we try to do some installation. Then maybe they are so those activities or like patterns, then we can able to figure out, okay, so they are maybe the unusual file activity, modification, unauthorized network. So all this, or there's sudden spike in the CPU. So it's always, we can try to monitor. And one more here will be the network traffic analysis. So this one we always the Trojan is often communicates with the like command and control. We call the CNC server to receive instruction or execute the data. So we monitor the network traffic. So unusual or unauthorized communication. Of course, once you realize that why your network. So when you need to monitor, that's why we need to always checking. Most of the time, maybe the server, if you serve, maybe your percentage of processing maybe taking around, in average, is around 20 to 30%. But you will realize that most of the time when your computer being hacked, or like your it will go some maybe to 100%, like over 90%. Within a short period of time, and then it always like maintain in the peak really long time, more than 1 hour, 2 hours, unless you have an alert or notification. Then we need to always like checking. Also, we try to add the like different type like IDS, and we can like monitor the network traffic or sign, and also sometimes we will checking the like sometimes maybe the IP address or some protocol they are using, and that's how we monitor if the Wireshark or like the TCP. Then we also can check all those connection. Right here, then switch feedback. Okay, let's say because we talk about the network, right? So why not switch to another language? This one is the Node.js. So it doesn't really matter which language you're using or the package I'm using. So you see right here. And let's say I want to, if in case I need to inject a file, attach a file, but I need to use certain package to detect. But if I don't want to let you know, then how can I do that? Let's say I need to execute this like Python, the node file. So I need to scan all my network information, like what's the interface, what's the address, what's the subnet mask. So the MAC address. For this one, and then I need to save it to a test file. Of course, I can also like send it back to the server, right? Just have an API and then post it to the API. And right here, if I want to execute, I need to require to have like the FS. We need to using the file system, and then we need to detect the OS. Also, we need to use the package called the network address. Okay, if I need to install this, all the things. Let me delete the, okay. If I download or attach this code in your certain file, okay. So how can I make sure like it can be going to execute, or like when you try to install a file, then it will be execute with all those attached. I create too, if you download the code, if you want also you can try, if some of you already installed the Node.js on your computer, then you can try to simulate it. I create two. One for the patch is for Windows system. So for the Windows, I will explain the code for the, okay. Right here. Okay. First, like I am checking, okay, is in the batch file, I'm checking, okay, is under the Windows system. Okay, if yes or no, and then if no, I just save it unknown. So it's okay, then I will just install. So I execute the npm. Then you ask, okay, if I don't have an npm, then I can do the same. Actually, using the batch file to force you to using, if you know, I can use the maybe using the Git or the Git code to install and like all the necessary package. So it's a normal behavior. So when we have some action like this, try to when how those like software detect is like, if you have some like unsuspicious like this kind of like activity, why you keep like installing some package, or we are like pulling from some source like down something, then it may be weird. Okay, so right here I will execute, and then when the npm install the OS network address, so I will install it to the global file, and I will directly execute this file. So even I'm not really required to say, okay, run this one. So this one is the batch file for Windows. Okay. So for Windows, then this one is the SH. So SH is mainly for the Linux system or the Mac, because we are similar executing. So also I can do the same. First, I can detect the environment, and then I will like attach these two files. Like one is for the Windows batch file, one is for the Linux system or Mac OS.sh. And then based on system, I detect that I can execute certain path. So same idea, okay, is like for the Linux, and then I will run the npm. If I there's another OS, or like if something I am not supporting, then I will just exit. So I'm not doing anything. It's a normal behavior. So we will try to do some attack like under the environment we know. Okay, so I will checking, and if I able to do that, then I can install the OS and network address. Okay, so right now I will execute this one, and then okay, set up. So right here you will see I'm executing. So you will see I'm installing. Okay, of course. Right here, you will see I've installed something. I'm taking some certain action, but we say we call the silent action. So silent action is like you're never able to see this one, because right now we do it by ourselves, so we know. Okay, so once I execute this part, I will generate a new file. So it just create right now. So you will see. Let me open the file. And here's the return all the contents, like what the possible, like the name, the current address, which is subnet mask, and then my MAC address, and then the interface I connect to will be like this. Okay, and what's the benefit? Or sometimes as a first step, because either one of our computer like execute this script, then I know, okay, what's the IP address of this location, or next then I can scan some like open ports right here in this environment, or I can try to do the ping, and it's better, like for me, or easier for me. Yeah. So in case like any student right here, their computer being hacked or some weird software, then we can take the action like this. And here's a little bit time let you to see, and I will help you. You can choose like any language. Let's say if you want to try, and then you can just install the Python right now, and also the Node.js. If some of you have it installed before, then you can execute this one. And for the SH, this one set up the SH. If you're using the Mac, then you can execute this one. But one thing, you need to change the file permission. Yeah, I remember this one. If you need, because we are trying to access with the files, and we need to change to the execute. Okay, so we need to modify this file, the S setup script. I can show you right here. So make sure we need to change that with right. So if you still remember, how can we change it? Okay. And then keep going about talking about the network. Then we have more about like file hashing, integrity checking. Some we will always checking if you know the SHA 256. So it's one of the like for the hashing method we are using to encrypt those like important file system, and we also using the public key and private key to share. So if you remember, we is like for the hybrid. So that's how we're doing, and then we have the checksum. So make sure they but it's never secure, because you know checksum is the final bit. So you know we'll make sure that the bits like it won't change like after we send from the source to the destination. But it may be a case, it's like the bits, they are all like altered. That means they change it, but we get the same checksum. Do you know what the checksum is doing, or have you heard about what checksum? Or when you try to install the like package, it show up, have a pop-up message. Let me see if
I'm gonna check some,
Mhm.
for sending packets, it helps to make sure that you have everything,
Okay.
by doing a bunch of special math, they can find out if
Yep.
you lost data or not.
Okay, yeah. So we yeah, even for this one, not only for security, but also we'll make sure like we're sending the file correctly, like from the source to our destination. But for using checksum, actually is not secure enough, because like when we change the bit, just to make it really simple, suppose like for the bit, let's say we are sending bit 1 and 0, and then so we always are matching. So we always get the bit, it will be like always 1, right? So suppose like for a certain digit is 1, and then let's say 1, maybe 0, 1, 1. Okay. So if suppose the original, like let's say my result suppose is 1, 1, but if I make the mistake like this, so it's not the original file, but for the checksum or somehow like it's I still get the same result, but the original file actually is not the same. Okay, so it's like it's potential. So we cannot still not like 100% guarantee checksum is working well, but it can help us to indicate, okay, if there's like any modification or the template by the trade. Okay, so we have more other software we can use, and also have a habit. So that's why for developer, we always like try to have a system logs and then alert. So we will check the system logs and checking, okay, so is any suspicious activity, so we can see, and then some like unusual system logs and the entries. So especially sometimes the login. So right now when you try to log in, they will pop out, okay, they can detect your IP address, right? So okay, this time you are logging from this location, or next time you go to somewhere else, then you will pop out, okay, you never log in from this location before, is it you? And then if you're using the app and you have the email, then they will send the email to you and ask you to validate. That's also is a way for us to prevent. And also we have the event logging monitor. So that's how we can check, like based on doing the real-time log. And then we have more. And for the security, we talk about the antivirus, and then one more thing is the firewall. So you remember when we try to set up the EC2, the AW, so we set up the inbound rules, outbound rules. Mainly for inbound state, because the traffic comes in, right? But of course, if you try to set the outbounds, if you like try to higher level security, so you know for certain service they can send the traffic, like sending the package out. Then also you can prevent. Okay, let's say if there's some service or the script. Okay, so I already scan the information, I need to connect, but for the outbound rules, like if you reject all those like outgoing service, only keep those you know, then you also can prevent. Okay, even they hack into your computer, but they're not able to like send those package out. So it's still okay. We can do it in this way. And always doing the regular updates. You see, we always have an update, and because when we have a new functions, new features, or like combine, so we always have that door or some like possible like pause open for testing. Then we need to prevent it. And then the operating system software, that's what we need to do. And remember, we always say talking a lot, so many times about the least privilege, even for the IAM, the file permission. So we need to review based on this one, and then restrict maybe share for certain like user only have a minimal privilege. So they only maybe have a right to read it, but they're not able to like create or modify or execution file. And then separation of duty. So they shouldn't have access to the system administration tool like this way. Okay. And also the user awareness and training. So this one is like what we need to do, of course, to us, like being aware of actually right now we access no matter the app or the website. So they will try to inject. So if you remember the DOM, if you remember the XSS, so the attack. Yeah, so if you still remember, well, in the previous, I show you the attack. So let's say we have the reflected. If you remember like reflected, so once we like put that input like as a script, so that one we're saving in the API server. Sometimes it's like because the server itself didn't like the developer, they didn't prevent this type of attack. It is not saying, okay, you are the user, but you need to be aware of like, okay, if something pops out, it doesn't belong to that server or that website, then try not to click on it. Like always say, we always try to like increase the awareness. It's like when something pops out, it's like you have to take action because they always have like really huge button, red in color, alert comes out, say, okay, you need to do some action. So when you follow the instruction or like follow them to like taking certain action, then they will really able to do something. But sometimes when it pops out because they maybe on the server side or website, then maybe sometimes it's just a banner. Okay, so if you don't do anything, you are still secure. Okay, so you are still safe. But if you really follow the step or click on something, then you will install all this script on your computer. Okay. And one more right here will be the application and whitelisting. So we try to like only allow I know or trust the programs to running on the system. I know this one is really hard and also is time consuming because once we set the limited, then it will actually is like it's not nice to us. Like even the server. Okay, let's say I need to set up connect to my server. If I only have a whitelist or certain IP address, that means if I have a whitelist for the IP address to connect to my server. If you are in a coffee shop, maybe if you're in a school or some environment, you can put the IP in a whitelist, then you are not allowed to access it. If you need to connect it, so it's really troublesome, right? Or maybe you have to VPN back to certain location. So you need to set up the VPN if you remember what's the VPN. So I need to connect to a VPN. VPN get the trusted address and those trusted IP address that I can connect to my server. Okay, that's regular. So everything's complicated and make the things like time consuming. When we design the system, is like okay. It's time consuming, complicated, but we need to make the balance. So we always like awareness and second like make sense. Like those steps is like really have high security, but it's not user friendly. Then maybe we need to make the level lower. Okay. And right here, whitelisting. If you look at the your Windows Defender, so we have application control. We have got the app blocker. So all this we can set the whitelisting. You will hear lots of terms. One thing here you always see we talk about backup recovery, and because in reality we have no way. Even you try to do lots of prevention, like we try to increase our awareness, try not to do that, try to like have a blacklist, set up the whitelist, and then VPN. But we still have a possible like have a crash or like being hacked. We always need to prepare for that. So always have a backup. Or like how can we recover? Do you like prepare for the backup plan, have a recovery plan? So always need to do that. That's really is my experience, like because I hosting a lot of server. Like actually, if you know the list I have so many server. And if sometimes like not your problem because you know if you're hosting those like actually the AWS or EC2, they are using the physical server and then they were using the VM Kubernetes to build the like the virtual server depends on your how much you pay or the resource you choose. Okay. Maybe sometimes because of security level of those like company is not enough or they able to hack to that device or their whole data center, then all the VM copy are possible being accessed. Actually, to them, they just need to execute a certain script, right? And access to all the connected VM image and then inject a file. So they are all possible. So sometimes not your security level is low, but also the company, like the service provider. And then for those, that's not your fault, but you have to also like have a backup plan. Okay. Also, even you set up some files or like, okay, if you are the developer, but you let your user have a right let's say I'm always provide, we call the CMS, the content management system. So the user are allowed to like install something, create something, new files. That means they have permission to modify. Well, you cannot control the user to let's say, okay, don't install this one, you cannot do that. But sometimes depends on the service. If you allow to have like more right to let the user to do that, then that means you're exposing your risk. Okay, then if really something happen, then we need to be like back up quickly. Okay, if a customer call you, okay, we been hacked, we like change your computer to a zombie computer, it keeps saying DDoS, then you need to shut down, and then if you sometimes you are able to figure out what are the files, where they are, like just when they create the file. But sometimes you really have, you don't know how many copies of file. Okay, maybe you only see one file over there. Okay, it's under your website directory. Okay, the root directory. Okay, but maybe after they start to create the if you look at those source code, you know, okay, once I have one file created, then actually I can try to scan all the full the directory and then change the permission, and then I can make or like create more files. Okay, I can duplicate a lot. So it's really hard to find all those files. Okay, this what happened to me. Yeah, there's one of always happened to the server I have, and I try to delete most of the files like under the website folder directory, and you realize that the CPU still like the resource always like over 100, like it's like taking 100% for like certain time, like 1 hour, 2 hours. That means there's some application, like some service still running in the background, you never realize, and then we are really hard. Of course, you need to check. Sometimes you can still able to find, figure out what's the path of it. Okay, maybe you can see, okay, which file taking 100% of your CPU processing power. Then you can search what because when you try to install a file, you can able to see the location, right? The execution path. Okay, which for this file, which location is located at. So we can still doing this, but it's too much like time consuming. If you have a regular backup, then you can just recover. Okay, and then you realize that, okay, maybe your file permission is setting too high, then you need to change it. Okay, maybe I need to remove the execution. Question?
So this is really backup and data recovery is essentially relying on that your backup is also in a perfect state or it's not compromised, right? Because if you go on 6 months and all of a sudden now you're just having problems with your applications, your entire desktop or something of that nature, or your server rack, you try to revert back to a previous.
We call the safe state. Yeah, reverse back to.
But if it's been 6 months and so you make a backup every month or every 3 months or something, but so you back up to the most recent one. But then in 3 months, you still have that same problem. So one of your backups was compromised. There's really nothing you can do but fully reset and then re-download everything.
Suppose the backup the copy like
I'm saying in case that a Trojan accidentally gets copied, but it doesn't do anything for 6 months. And so then you've already implemented it into your backup, right? So then at that point, there's nothing.
Yes, true. Yeah. So because like for this case, yes, it's going to be happen like this. Then if you realize, okay, even like backup, yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Like if a team, okay, we already backup, and then why, like we already take all those like possible actions, like do also all the monitoring, change permission. Yeah, it's going to, okay, they inject it. It barely really like let the file hit them, like say, let me wait for 6 months and execute this file. Actually, when they able to hack it, they will execute all those files. But when you really have this, it's really hard to discover. Actually, for the situation you mentioned, it's really hard. I cannot say because right now we know it's really happened like this way. But you realize that, okay, when we do several like recovery, but it happened so many times, and then you realize that this backup is not working at all, then you maybe need to trace back maybe 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. But a year ago, maybe the application is not new enough, like it's not the latest one, okay. Then it's the hardest challenge. Because sometimes for the injection, if you know, for injection is the file, it's the SQL, also the SQL injection. And if they create certain, like user account, or you never know what kind of information, maybe they will attach a link, maybe some certain script also inside your path, like certain parameter. Okay, if those things you're really hard to figure out, or like even the data itself, so the cost will be really hard. So I cannot say what's the good way. Like this really hard. It depends on company. Say let's review everything or based on our local copy. Like sometimes like, okay, I have a server side, I have a backup, maybe for your local, like maybe for deployment. Let's say I have a latest version of like our software. Okay, maybe the fastest way is like create a new one and then build everything, change the permission, and I deploy what we have, like all the application software to the new, create a new image, and then redirect. Once you are ready, then we will redirect it to our new server and then just like shut down the old one. So it may be the one way to solve the problem, but everything also rely on the copy or the backup what you have. Like of course, like for development, we are not always like on the server side, backup image is fast, right? When you deploy, and then maybe you can just need to wait fast, maybe several minutes. Okay, if you are really have a lot of data, like your maybe that server is for the storage, then it takes longer time. So I cannot, there's no accurate answer I can answer you like for your situation, but just depends on how many copies or like the local side. Maybe you need to have a local copy, also have a like server side, also have a copy. Then if you really realize that, okay, maybe you never able to trace back, yeah, maybe 1 year ago, maybe it's outdated, you cannot serve. Or if you realize 1 year ago is okay, then just let it go back to online first. Well, we need to think about these things because for a company, how can we maintain your website or like some service? Okay, let's say we have a mobile app. Okay, so can we let it shut down for 1 hour, 2 hours? If no, then maybe we need to like recover back to 1 year ago copy, and then just like your team need to like recover or like build a new server, deploy it, and then apply it, and then restart the service again. Okay. Depends on, but we need to have a strategy. If you remember, there's one of the in our lecture we talk about like what's the plan, right, for the strategy. So how can we recover? So if really something happened, so what's the step 1, step 2, step 3? That's what we need to do. Okay, maybe the first one try to back up from the latest copy. If no, back up to the second copy. If really no, create a new image and then build everything. That's why we say the backup solution right here, also the offline backup. So we at least they maintain 2 different, and then network segment isolation. Enterprise level, we always need to have a segmenting the network. Okay, when we isolate everything, we have a high security. So here's called the isolation. So keep the sensitive like system on the isolated network. So it's not easy to access, and then we need to like use the VPN, which can help. And more the strategy right here. I just go through over here. So we need to have like tools to detect against the Trojan, and also the antivirus solution right here, and then the IDPS we have it, and then just of idea, also the file integrity. So we mentioned about it, all the details you can see. Okay, if you're interested, you can look at it. But I'm not asking you like what's the sandbox, what's the that we can use. But if you're interested, you can look at it. And in instance like we respond and recovery, we trying to do. So far we'll be right here. Always remember, just like updated software, monitoring the behavior and the network traffic analysis and education. Yeah, to educate our user. So not ourselves, like, for us, like for, maybe you're working for a company, you have so many employees, right? So that's why you always maybe receive an email, teaching you, or like you need to have a seminar, like maybe have a meeting to teach the, other employee. Because like when you are working more in this industry, you will aware more, but for the regular, like normal employee, they really have no, without the sense. Okay. Then how can we educate them? And that's what we need to do. And also combining all these like things like different type detection, monitoring together, and then we need to have a security practice so we can prevent it. And that's it for today's class. And right here, we have a little bit time, but not that much. If you want to execute, if you have any question, you feel free to ask. If you want to try to execute these things, and then I will. For the later, because for the project, I will let you to like use like based on editing the source code I gave you, so you can test. So mainly you should just like writing a report to review and doing testing. And how can we prevent all these like possible attack? Okay, and maybe you will say, okay, first like you can execute and say, okay, how we rectify all these things. So what the possible solution, how to prevent it? Sometimes I just don't do that. Don't do it. Okay, so it's really simple. Because like it's always the first action, like be careful, or like if something looking is so weird, then don't execute it. And that's it for today's class. Any question? Okay. Okay, let's see.